Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever walked out into your garden, maybe coffee in hand, ready to enjoy the morning, only to find your absolute favorite plant looking, well, completely dead? It is so frustrating. But actually, scratch the frustration. Instead of seeing a gardening failure, I want you to look at it as a fascinating mystery that is just waiting to be solved. Today, you are the detective, and we are stepping right into the plant crime scene. So let's dive into this by posing the ultimate, agonizing question that literally plagues every single plant parent when they spot those yellowing leaves or wilting stems. Why is your plant dying? It's that exact panic-inducing question that usually drives us to, buy random fertilizers or spray broad-spectrum pesticides everywhere. But we're going to stop doing that right now. Because as the experts at Penn State Extension perfectly point out, diagnosing plant decline really doesn't require guesswork. They say, unlike Sherlock Holmes mysteries, the possibilities are generally not unlimited. It just takes your observational skills and deductive logic. Basically, while the damage feels totally overwhelming, solving it just requires careful step-by-step logic rather than panic. We just need to follow the clues.
Section 1. The Plant Crime Scene. Interrogation Time.
Okay, so before we jump to any wild conclusions about what caused the damage, we really need to know the golden rule of plant diagnostics. And it's beautifully simple. Before assuming a disease is contagious, you absolutely have to rule out abiotic, meaning non-living causes first. I know, it's super tempting to blame a creepy bug or some weird fungus, but honestly, most of the time, the stressor is entirely environmental. We're talking about things like drought, extreme temperature swings, mechanical damage from a weed whacker, or, as we'll see very shortly, the soil itself.
Section 2. Symptoms versus signs. Spot the difference.
Now, to be a truly great plant detective, we must learn to separate the victim's cries for help from the actual physical evidence left behind by the culprit. There is a massive difference here. On the left side, we have symptoms. This is just how the plant reacts to a problem, things like wilting, leaf scorch, or yellowing leaves. It's a literal cry for help. On the right, we have signs. Now, this is the actual physical trace of a pest or pathogen. Think insect frass, oozing sap, or maybe mushrooms growing on a trunk. The smoking gun, basically. If you only look at the symptoms, you might completely miss the real cause.
To put that into perspective, take a look at the leaf scorch on this maple leaf on the left and then the rotting, shriveled apple on the right. These visual symptoms can be incredibly misleading red herrings. That scorch, it might look exactly like a nasty leaf disease, but it could actually just be a root problem causing water stress. And the rot on that fruit, that might just be a secondary infection that swooped in to take advantage of a completely different primary wound. See, symptoms often mask the true underlying issue.
Section 3. The disease triangle, a perfect storm. So before we start arresting innocent insects or throwing harsh chemicals at a symptom, we really need to understand that diseases do not just happen randomly. They require a highly specific setup known as the disease triangle. This is a brilliant diagnostic model proving that an infection is essentially a perfect storm.
Here's how it works. You absolutely need these 3 specific conditions to align perfectly. Number 1, a susceptible host. The plant has to be vulnerable in the first place. Number 2, a pathogen. The actual causal agent, like a fungus or bacteria, has to be hanging around. And number 3, a favorable environment. Think soggy soil or super high humidity. Now here is the absolute magic of this model. If you can alter just one of these elements, like, say, fixing the environment, you can completely shatter the triangle and stop the disease dead in its tracks.
Section 4. Compacted clay, the invisible villain.
We are going to zero in on the most common, yet totally invisible environmental villain hiding in gardens across places like North Texas. Because often the real killer in your garden isn't a living organism at all. It is the heavy, poorly drained, suffocating structure of compacted clay soil. This massive abiotic stressor completely ruins root development. It chokes off nutrient availability, acting as the ultimate precursor to disease.
So here's the crucial point. Dense clay stops water from draining, period. And when the air pores in the soil fill up with water, it leads to hypoxia, which is a severe oxygen deficit. Without oxygen, roots literally cannot perform cellular respiration, and they can't take up water. It creates this bizarre, completely tragic scenario where your plant is literally drowning down at the roots, but simultaneously wilting at the leaves because it can't take in a drink. Wild, right?
Section 5, Root Rot Accomplice, Opportunistic Attack. Here's the thing. When a plant is suffocating in heavy clay, it rarely dies alone. Once that compacted soil weakens the plant's natural defenses, it kicks the door wide open for opportunistic accomplices to finish the job below the surface. To find this accomplice, you gotta interrogate the roots. Healthy roots, they're firm, white, or tan, and they snap cleanly. But if root rot has set in, those roots turn incredibly soft, brown, or black, and just mushy. If you give them a pull, the outer layer, the cortex, actually sloughs right off, leaving only this weird little central thread. You can even use your nose. Rotting roots often give off a really foul, sour odor.
Check out this stark, gruesome visual contrast. On the left, we've got firm, perfectly healthy roots. But over on the right, notice that dark, sloughing, mushy mess? Those are the victims of root rot. These infections are usually fueled by opportunistic pathogens like Phytophthora or Pythium, which, no surprise, absolutely thrive in the exact wet, warm, suffocating environment that compacted clay creates.
Section 6. Solving the soil mystery. Actionable steps.
Okay, so now that we know exactly who this subterranean criminal enterprise is, how do we investigate our own soil and stop them? Well, before your plants even show a single symptom of decline, you can perform a remarkably simple field diagnostic. We call it the screwdriver test. Step 1, grab a standard screwdriver. Step 2, press it firmly straight down into your soil. Step 3, if you can't easily penetrate the top 6 inches, you have severe compaction. It is literally that straightforward. Think about it. If your tools can't push through that soil, oxygen and delicate roots certainly can't either.
So, how do we fix it? Remember the disease triangle. We alter the favorable environment side to protect our host plants. Here are some rock-solid, concrete solutions for your soil. Build raised beds to ensure proper drainage right from the start. Incorporate organic compost and expanded shale to really open up that soil structure. Mulch consistently. And here is a massive warning for you. Never add sand directly to clay soil. Seriously, do not do it. Mixing sand and clay basically creates concrete, and it will make your compaction infinitely worse.
So I want to leave you with a provocative thought for today. Before you ever reach for that pesticide spray or start dumping fertilizer to treat some weird symptom you see on a leaf, have you checked the soil's environment first? Remember, you're a plant detective now. Look below the surface, use your deductive logic, and whatever you do, don't let compacted clay get away with murder. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy sleuthing out there.